Predicting trajectory.
Wow, that's a really cool gadget. Come to think of it. Hey, wait a minute. Designed by the world's top scientists, the Ridge makes lifestyle products that secret agents can get behind. And they're not just functional, they also look good too. Your cards go inside with an elastic band connecting the two pieces together like this, and then you either have a cash strip or a money clip on the back to keep your cash. Some of them come with neat artsy designs like this is my personal favorite, but they also come in designs like titanium, carbon fiber, and lots more like these topographic designs. Its slim design makes it easy to fit into your front pocket and your everyday carry. If you're interested, go to ridge.com/Gregor, use the code Gregor at checkout to get 10% off. It comes with a lifetime warranty, and if you don't like it, you can return it for free. Plus, it comes with free shipping and handling. And thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video. So dudes, today I'm going to talk at length about IQ, because this is a topic that came up recently when I was discussing the potential for taking away Valkyrie's ability to throw cameras outside, which isn't a very popular stance right now, and I understand why. I personally, like I said earlier, I would not be opposed to taking away Valkyrie's ability to throw cameras outside. However, I understand that it probably wouldn't be a good idea right now with the current public, I guess the public opinion on nerfing things in general right now, because it seems that the game gets more nerfs than it does get buffs. So one of the ways that you could get around this a little bit was to make Valkyrie's most particular counter a little bit more viable to bring in a competitive environment. And in ranked, at least according to the win balancing matrix that we have here that we had released before the patch actually dropped, IQ is fairly balanced. I mean, if you look at her next to Thermite, Flores, and Buck, we wouldn't say that any of these operators are particularly quote-unquote bad. But remember, this is looking at ranked data. We're not looking at competitive data. And right now, IQ's pick rate in competitive isn't very high. These are all the plays for NAL Stage 3 right now. Coastline 5 times, Clubhouse 4, Chalet 4, Cafe 3, Oregon 2, Bank 1. So a pretty significant amount of playtime. This is a pretty decent sample size to go off of. And IQ is sitting at the bottom with a pick rate of 1.5% next to Nuck. Nuck has a higher pick rate in competitive than IQ at 2%. Let's keep looking at the other leagues. Europe, nothing. APAC South, still really low, 3%. APAC North, nothing. Brazil, blah, blah, blah. 10%, probably because G8 go burr. And then if we look at the ban rates for operators from NAL to Europe, I'm not including APAC South here because for some reason their Thatcher ban meta is weird. APAC North, it's really high. Brazil Owl is pretty high too. But notice another operator that gets banned a lot. Valk. Who's the primary counter to Valk right now? IQ. And she hardly gets picked at all. So when people are talking about if you have a problem with Valkyrie, just bring IQ. This is what we'd rather do instead. We would rather just ban her because her counter isn't very good. And I don't think that's good design. So if we are worried about Valkyrie, especially in ranked, because she's kind of a monkey operator and she's annoying to play against, maybe if it is OP, maybe if throwing the cameras outside is OP, we might not even have to get rid of that ability if we just buff IQ. So these are some ideas I had. You can't tell me that there's not something going on here. I don't know if this is a gun with an attachment or if the gun is the attachment. I know that might not make sense. But you know how Buck has the shotgun under slun on the gun and he can switch to it. I don't know if this is like a gun that fires bullets and then she presses a button and then it fires like the little EMP dart or whatever the heck it's supposed to be. I think it has to be an EMP something or other, right? Because when she shoots it, there's no impact, right? There's no projectile as far as I can tell. But it causes the drone to like fall to the ground as a result of, I'm assuming the electronics go out. Right, because you can see the rotors kind of slow down a little bit. So there's definitely some kind of EMP gun. I don't know if this is something they're going to add to the game eventually. I don't know if they're going to add this to an attacker in Year 7, because obviously the next patch that's going to come out is going to be a defender because Osa was just recently added and she's an attacker. Or maybe this is a defender gadget. I don't know. I just don't think it's a coincidence that IQ is hanging out with Nighthaven and doing Nighthaven things. And this was like a really big push lore-wise and story-wise here for Nighthaven in general, because obviously Osa is from Nighthaven. And here's IQ, a literal member of Team Rainbow that's just kind of chilling here, I guess, doing contract work or something. I don't know the specifics of the writing involved here. But I don't think they would go out of their way to even draw these assets and put them in a video like this if there wasn't at least a conversation about giving IQ something like that. And here's a detail that I thought was interesting, right? She shoots down this drone with this EMP gun, or whatever it's supposed to be. And then Osa says something.
Did I mention it comes wrist-mounted?
What location is IQ's gadget mounted on? Her wrist. Just something to think about. I don't know. That could just be a gag that they did because, oh, haha, IQ's gadget is wrist mounted. Oh, what if Osa said the gadget was wrist mounted and IQ would think that was cool, right? It could just be clever writing, or it could be alluding to something. If this is a gun that she can hold up and then switch to, right, like Buck, there'd be a number of advantages to it, as opposed to having to flip her wrist-mounted gadget and then aiming down with the pistol. The primary advantage would be that she doesn't have to switch to a less effective gun, and that reduces her effectiveness in gunfights whenever she wants to dispatch of gadgets. But if the gadget doesn't need a direct shot on it, maybe it works in like a cone of fire whenever it hits a target, that would help her out with crosshair placement. So let's say there's a Capcan trap on a door. You wouldn't need to take your gun off a head level to shoot the trap and then come back. It would obviously be a little bit easier if you could do it with your rifle out. But that's just one example, in my opinion. This is all speculation. In my opinion, they wouldn't be teasing this unless they thought they were going to add it at some point. IQ, despite these ranked stats, to me is a really good example of gun does not equal good. IQ has the G8. She has two guns that can put high zoom scopes on them that are both pretty reasonable too. She's a 3-speed. So, by all means, she's a pretty decent fragging operator. But she doesn't get brought in competitive because she doesn't have anything useful to bring to the attacker side of the table, including nades, which she used to have, and then they got taken away. Honestly, the easiest thing to do here, in my opinion, is to just give her the nades back. Give people some kind of justification to play her again. But you also run into the issue of, okay, is an operator with the G8 and frag grenade something that we want on the table right now? And the way I see it, I think that IQ shouldn't have to get out her pistol to use her gadget. I think that's one thing they need to consider reworking. They need to rework that part of her gadget completely. I think they should do it like Jackal. I think she should have a visor that she activates, like it goes down like this, like zoot, and then she can use her primary weapon and run around freely the same way Jackal would. She has different colored kind of vision, so it's not as great for gunfighting. And when she gets close to a mute jammer, it'll go bzz, 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 bzz. I just want to point out that despite Sledge, for instance, losing his SMG-11, he still has frag grenades and he still has that hammer, and his pick crate and NAL has not gone down. So you either have to give IQ her nades back, which is current utility that exists in the game, or rework the gadget in a way that makes her a justifiable pick. Because right now, it's not. Also, I just think this design looks cool, and I'm kind of interested to see more about it anyway. So, if you guys thought this video was entertaining, and if you have anything to add to the conversation, let me know in the comments down below. Deuces.